Hey folks, welcome back to the channel and our next Escape from Tarkov video. We got patch 14.1 today, and there is a lot to it. So let's not waste any time and we'll get right into it and get you up to speed. All right, so I'll put the link to this down in the description so you can go look at them yourself, but we're gonna jump right in with the first thing that they didn't even mention in the patch notes, and that is snow is gone. We're back to the regular Tarkov, green and easy to see, which means probably rain and everything else. I didn't see anything that looked outside of the normal Tarkov, if you will, before the snow. But if you notice something, make sure you let us know down in the comments, because I don't know, get to see everything in the few short minutes or hours, so I get in the game before I do the update. And your comments definitely let people know what's going on, so I appreciate that. But onto the list of changes. First thing first, rework the damage through layers of armor. Now when each layer is penetrated, the bullet loses some penetration power and damage depending on the characteristics of the penetrated armor. Okay, so they say this is a list of change. This is how Tarkov has always operated. And this gets into that whole idea that sometimes BSG just doesn't put their patch notes together right. I don't know if that's the case here. What was happening before today is that if you shot a bullet, it hit an armored plate and it penetrated, it still did full damage. That was not how it operated before patch 14.01 or whatever the patch was that was like 3 weeks ago. And before that, if you shot 31 pen ammo at a level 4 plate or level 4 armor, for example, and it penetrated, it had a massive damage reduction, over 50%, I believe. It varied depending on how the pen and the armor, it changed. It wasn't like a fixed reduction. That's why I'm not 100% sure what it was, but it did reduce the damage, so that like 855 in class 4, even if you did get a lucky roll and penetrate it, it didn't do full damage. That was not happening as of yesterday and since the last patch. So this changes that, and it's a good change. This is how it should operate. This is what we're all used to seeing, and I believe this is one of many things that is making armor feel super inconsistent, both in wearing it and when you're shooting players. Sometimes they go down quick, sometimes they go down, it feels like it takes a half a mag. So this will be a step in the right direction, I hope. I haven't done any testing yet. We will do some today. We will get a better idea of what's going on and make sure there's no additional bugs. On top of that is something they said is a list of changed. Fixed an issue with missing blunt damage when hitting a ballistic plate. Now, we all thought this was an intended change, and it says it's a change, so maybe it was an intended system and they're changing it, but it reads out like it was a bug because it was missing. I don't know, man. These patch notes can twist your brain around too much if you get too worried about it. Point being is it looks like when you get hit in a plate, you're going to receive blunt damage again. I like that you didn't receive blunt damage. It gave it an extra system. It was more important that you got hit in the plate versus not hitting the plate. It made the fact that they didn't cover everything a little bit more valuable. We'll see. We're going to test it. We're going to see what's going on with this. We're going to see, is it like 1 damage? Is it 0.1 damage? Whatever it might be, we're going to dig through it and try to figure out what's going on with specifically this change. One of the new things, though, is blunt damage now decreases when there is soft armor behind the unpenetrated component. So let's say you have a armor plate on with soft armor behind it and you take a shot. That is going to reduce the blunt damage somehow. Again, we'll test it and figure it out, versus some of the rigs that don't have this. So like, for example, a HPC, let me go into the handbook here and I'll just show you. The HPC doesn't have any armor on it at all. There's no aramid here, so it's just a plate. So there is no reduction in damage if you hit the plate, which, yeah, that nobody wears those anyways, so it's not all that big of a deal. It's a buff to armor across the board. So even though now you're getting blunt damage, you should get less. Again, it needs to be tested to figure out exactly what's going on here. Adjusted the head collider's eyes and ears. I'll test this today to figure out exactly, did they make them smaller? Did they move them? What did they do? We'll try to figure it out. We have a pretty good idea of where they were from previous testing. So we'll see if they just shrunk them. Maybe the ears, how they kind of stuck out, they made them smaller, or I don't know. We'll see. Be interesting to find out what they did there exactly. Remove the possibility for bullets to pierce through a character's thorax and stomach. This has a ton of potential impacts on how a game plays. So for one, you can't collateral people through the chest or stomach, thorax or stomach. The bullet is going to hit that and it is going to stop. This might remove some of the double hit bugs maybe, or some of the fragmentation. We don't know exactly what's causing it, but there's some bugs. So this might stop that. This might simply be a way to quickly fix that without turning off fragmentation, though I wish they would do that. I'm going to keep a close eye on this and see what this actually means. It'll also mean that bullets passing through your chest and hitting your back plate, which BSG said was an intended mechanic, will also not be possible anymore unless there's a bug. So we'll have to keep an eye out for that. Now, for some armor changes, they added the ability to fit the Granite BR4 and BR5 plates into the Wartech TV110 and TV115 plate carriers. So pretty simple. That's these the Russian plates, if you will, the class, I believe class 5 and class 6. I don't know what the BR5 is. Point being is you can now put it inside a TV110 where you couldn't before. Now you can, so there's more armor options there for TV110s and stuff like that. Though TV110 is not a great armor in my opinion, so you do use that at your own risk. One of the next, this is a huge one that a lot of people are going to be talking about for the next couple of days, is they adjusted the recoil parameters for pistols, shotguns, and the SKS carbine. So pistols, they got nerfed pretty hard, but they're still usable. They didn't go back to where they were before patch 14, but they aren't awesome like they are now. They're somewhere in the middle. Red dots are pretty hard to use with rapid fire because the red dot just disappears from your sight and you're hitting high. I would suggest going to iron sights for now. The recoil is still controllable. You can still pull down, you can hit where you're aiming. It's consistent. You just can't really see where you're aiming on your sights. There's a lot more to this than I want to get into the video. It has to do with, you know, sight picture and where the camera moves in relation to the gun, or the gun moves in relation to the camera, all that other stuff. I think they might have overcorrected. Pistols were too good, in my opinion. You can disagree. Pistols were too good where they were at patch 14, but I think BSG overcorrected here. I think they pushed too far back in the other direction and made pistols kind of not all that great anymore. On the flip side, shotguns have gotten better, and it's a product of the same change, which is weird. It'll take a whole video to explain it, but it's a product of how the camera sticks with the gun versus doesn't stick with the gun, and this, that, and the other. Shotguns do feel better. So if you've been struggling with them, maybe give them a try. They're still not going to be great, but at least they don't look so bad. And then the SKS, it also got a pretty good nerf. It's got a lot more recoil now. It's still manageable. It's still not terrible. I put together pretty much a quote unquote meta one and tried some shots with it. It was performing pretty close to like how an SR25 would, or some of the other better guns. And now it is not as good anymore, which should probably be the case since it's a lot cheaper. For a game balance perspective, I don't know. It's worse. That's where it is, just so you guys know. It's got more recoil now, primarily vertical. It's not real bad horizontal. It just moves a lot when you shoot vertically. The next one is they added contact shadows for the BTR and updated visual effects on the BTR machine gun fire. Not sure exactly how this plays out. I'll play some streets. I'll look at it. I'm guessing the BTR just had some weird shadows with the way the machine gun turn worked and how things went, made it kind of hard to see. It looks like they adjusted that. Not a huge thing, something you're going to notice probably if you play streets. Adjusted the random container spawn settings to reduce the chance of spawning empty containers. This still happened a lot. This was when they added dynamic containers where they just kind of spawn all over the place, and sometimes you get like way more or way less. You would often find containers that were just empty and they hadn't been looted. You could have been the first one to get there, and it wasn't a vacuum loot. It was just they were spawning empty. It's been happening for a while. Hopefully this isn't the case anymore, so you at least get some stuff in a container that's not empty. Added the tenths of percentage display when viewing total number of players who have completed an achievement. So this is when you come and look at your achievement list here. Obviously, you can see it used to just be 1%. Like this said 0% before. Now it says 0.4. This said 3%. Now it says 3.1. So it's just a little bit more granularity to where, so you can see kind of where the player base is with some of these achievements and things like that. They adjusted the sound positioning system on Ground Zero and Tarkov. I'm not even going to pretend to know that I can explain this. I don't know what this means exactly. Sound positioning has to do with where a sound originates from, maybe, and how it sounds. Streets and Ground Zero audio is screwed up, period. But so is the game. But Streets does feel worse. And I don't know if it's just because it's got more buildings, because of the layering of systems. I don't know. It's just worse. So hopefully this is a step in fixing that. I don't know. It sucks that you don't see any fixes anywhere else. Places like Shoreline or Reserve or places like that that just have just bad audio in general. We'll have to see where this pans out. Oh yeah, and Interchange. Interchange has got some funky audio too. So hopefully this makes it better, and we'll see some other changes to audio in the other maps in the coming days, weeks, months, whatever it might be. The following plate carriers, body armor, have been upgraded to class 3. There's some big changes here. There's some that don't really matter. So what this means is the Aramid in many of these was class 2. So I'm going to go to the Baggerly first, because this was one of the ones that threw a lot of people off, including me. This used to be class 2 airmid. It is now class 3. I wouldn't use this in the past because it was only class 2 airmid. Why wear this when you could either wear stuff? This is actually a viable rig again. It does not provide neck protection, so it isn't the best, but it is better than it was before with the class 3 airmid now, and gives you a reason to use some of these more Russian plates versus the other ones. They also did this with the CPC mod 1, which this was my favorite armor in the old armor system. I won't even touch it now because it doesn't have good protection. It doesn't cover your thorax. It only covers where the plate sits. So not good. Same thing with the Cry Precision. The Baggerly we talked about. The Trooper. This is interesting. This isn't a rig, obviously, but they made the Trooper class 3 now, and it does have okay protection. It does cover thorax, stomach, upper back, lower back, and then the plate areas, obviously. It doesn't have side protection in here, or neck protection, but with it being class 3 now, you could consider using it. I probably won't, but it's there. It's better than nothing, I suppose. Just tweaks they're making to constantly make stuff better. M2 plate carrier got upgraded. This is kind of big. This is kind of a decent armor. It kind of falls in the same place as the Baggerly, but with different plates. So yeah, maybe the M2 might get a resurgence. So watch out for those barter items. The AVS, this is a big buff to the AVS because the AVS is actually a pretty halfway decent armor. As far as a rig is concerned, it does offer great protection because it does cover the groin, it doesn't cover the neck, and it doesn't cover the sides, but it's class 3 now, so that's kind of a big deal. So if you have AVSs, they are that much more powerful than they were before. And this also applies to the Tagilla edition, which that doesn't really matter because that thing doesn't have any coverage anyways. And then the Tech, same deal. It's got class 3, though its coverage is bad. Here's the big one. This is the one that everybody's been talking about, the one you've probably been waiting for. I'll opine on it a little bit, but not a ton. In the near future, the in-game stash expansion and access to the practice co-op mode will be available for purchase in the profile page on the official Escape from Tarkov website. Boom, microtransactions. Nikita swore up and down for years we were never gonna have microtransactions, and they're kind of here now. Expanding specifically, purchase of additional stash lines will be available regardless of the game edition. So yes, even though you're EOD, you're going to be able to buy, I think it's 28 additional rows. That's 280 slots. So if you're looking at your stash, a single screen, at least on my monitor, is 14 lines. So it's 2 full scrolls of stash space if you do 28 lines. That is the equivalent almost to all of the stash hideout upgrades. So you go from 10 to 28 to 10 to 68, so that's 40 slots increased. But it's the same, basically is the level 3 and the level 4 stash upgrade. It gives you the same amount as that almost, 2 lines short. And then the practice edition is the co-op mode. For those of you guys that aren't aware what that is, it's where you go into like an offline raid right here, and you enter co-op mode. This allows people to join in an offline raid, though it's not offline, it's on servers, but it works the same as the offline mode with some extra options. That's going to be available for purchase as well. Edge of Darkness already has that. Okay, so microtransactions, let's get into this. I think the people that have the most right to be upset are the people that are like, oh, BSG said they never do microtransactions. Now, I haven't gone back and looked and listened specifically what Nikita said, but the general gist of what I got from him was that microtransactions he meant in-game microtransactions, things like loot boxes, think Apex Legends, Call of Duty, stuff like that, where there's actual in-game purchases for stuff. Now that's semantics. If you want to hold them to their feet to the fire for this, do it. More power to you. I'm not going to judge you and think that you're dumb because you do that. That's your prerogative. For me, I'm not that worried about it. And here's why. It's no different than what we had before. So if you want to call these microtransactions, you would pretty much have to call an upgrade from a standard account to EOD a microtransaction as well, because that's exactly what they're offering. They're just taking all of the stuff that was packaged up, at least not all of it, because you can't buy Gamma and you can't buy Trader Rep and stuff like that. But they're taking these items that were in the EOD and they're just selling them separate now. Now, yes, the stash space is on top. So there's an argument to be made that that's an additional new piece, especially because if you have EOD, you can... What we've heard so far is that you're going to be able to buy it even with EOD, which makes sense because if you couldn't, a standard account could have more stash space than an EOD. We're getting into the weeds. It's not important. Is this a good thing for Tarkov? I don't know. Do they need the money? I don't look at their books. It's an assumption at that point. Are they going to use the money wisely? I don't know. I'm literally the guy BSG paid for us to go to the range, and I got to drive a tank over a car. I thought that was money well spent, but I'm pretty biased on that. So it's going to come down to each person and how they view it and their perceptions on this. I don't think it's a big deal. I think it's a good thing because it allows players that don't want to grind out the 30 million rubles or whatever. It's insane to upgrade the stash space for. It's 200,000 euros. And some other expenses I mean, it's like 30 million or 28 just in the euros. I can't remember exactly what it is. It's a lot. So people that don't want to grind out that money, they can get the stash space. Now, what it costs, we don't know. There's going to be a whole nother stir up around that. But for me, people buying stash space or people buying access to the co-op mode doesn't impact in-game performance or play. Not in any measurable way. You're not going to know when you're fighting somebody that they have 28 extra lines of stash space. People are going to argue against me, and that's fine. But this isn't any kind of pay to win. Sure, it's a microtransaction, but it's one that we've already kind of had. It's nothing new. And that's just kind of my take on it. Now, interestingly enough, we have word straight from the man himself, Nikita. I stay off of Reddit like I hate this place. Doom scroll, nightmare, black hole, Somalia, tire fire, whatever you want to call it, it is here. But this is where Nikita likes to engage, so I got to come over here to look at it. And here's his stuff on it. They removed EOD version, and some EOD features need to go back. For example, offline co-op mode. Now, they charge extra for this because it costs extra servers. That's what they said. That's justifiable to me. That's not a microtransaction in my mind. That is a service. So look at it how you will. Co-op mode is kind of outside the purview of microtransaction conversation to me. The stash thing, though, here's where they justify it. The game is running 8 years without any additional cash flow. Well, additional flow, he means cash flow. You just buy it and play it forever, which is right. I paid 150 bucks, whatever it was, and on this account, I'm at what, 9,700 hours, whatever it is. Plus I have 500 or 600 on my other accounts for various playthroughs and whatnot and testing. But yeah, I'm probably around 10,000 hours, and I paid 150 bucks. I got my money's worth. If there was a subscription system, it wouldn't hurt my feelings, but another conversation. That's part of their justification for doing this, if you will. In the upcoming patches, they want to add stash expansion for every version, up to 20 additional lines, clothing early unlock, so you'll be able to buy clothes, which that's cosmetics, so that is a microtransaction. I guess you could say that's an in-game. This is different than what we heard before, but this is down that line of microtransactions, right? And if you want to hold BSG's feet to the fire because they said they were never going to do it, go for it. To me, it's not that big of a deal. And then the co-op mode we talked about. There will be no in-game money, items, weapon, gear package purchases, and so on. No boosters also. So this is probably what Nikita, in his mind, whether he worded it incorrectly or not, probably meant, or maybe he just changed his mind. I don't know. I'm not going to try to assume. And then about the stash expansions, they'll have they're going to add where you can earn these lines in the game too without spending any money. So that's a big deal to me. That means that stuff isn't just paywalled. You can get it without buying it, which I think is a good thing. I think that offsets some of the really bad stuff for it. So just keep that in mind. Take a few deep breaths. Don't spool out about this until we see how it's implemented and how much it costs. If they're charging $1 per line and it's $28 for 28 slots, boy, I don't know. Is that too much? I guess it depends on who you ask. We'll see what they charge. Okay, on to the fixes. Now, I'm not going to read through every single one of these, just so you know. There's some in here that are whatever. There's some in here that I'm going to talk about. If you want to look at them all, go ahead. I don't want to read through each and every one of these because some of them don't matter. So the first thing, they fixed some of the visuals of Streets and Ground Zero. What that means, I don't know. Just bugs, maybe way stuff renders or doesn't render. Who knows? Lack of camera shake when firing stationary weapons. I went and shot the stationary weapon. I guess they added camera shake back. I don't know. They seem still usable. Judge for yourself. Next up, fix the incorrect shifting of the aiming line on iron and hybrid sights at high field of view settings. This is an issue with field of view, moving how the camera looks down sights. This is a problem that has been a bug in the past and been fixed and come back and forth. It was back again. I don't think it was on every weapon though. Anyways, looks like they fixed it. If you're paying attention to this, especially if you play it like really high field of view, you noticed it. If you play it low, you don't. It's just how it is. Fix the weapon getting stuck sideways from switching from one side to another while aiming in the left shoulder stance. I notice this all the time. You'd be aiming and your gun would be like tilted, and then you'd go back and it would still be tilted, and then you had to like throw your gun on the ground to fix it. It's a good fix. We'll see if they fixed it everywhere. It was kind of a gun and sight basis. It didn't do it on every sight. It didn't do it on every gun. So we'll see if they checked the box everywhere and got it addressed. Fixed the distance to the sight when shooting in the left shoulder stance at field of view 75. There were some bugs with max field of view. When you switch to the left shoulder, you could bug out sights and some optics and some different guns and things like that. Looks like they addressed that, as well as we'll see if they adjusted how you get more zoom when you're left shoulder firing. They said they were going to fix that. I didn't test a bunch of stuff yet. A little bit I did with the M4 and the L cannon. It looks like they addressed it, but we'll see. Fixed the lack of camera sway when aiming at the left shoulder stance. This is noticeable. When you're holding your breath, there isn't any noticeable sway that I could see. But when you are not holding your breath, there is substantially more movement on your left shoulder than your right, and especially when you're strafing, you'll notice more up and down. It's hard to tell left and right when you're strafing, but there is more up and down movement in a left shoulder stance. So that debuff for switching to that is there. It wasn't really before this patch. They fixed several bugs in vaulting mechanics that caused getting pushed out, stuck, falling into geometry. So I had died to this a couple of times where you vault up on something and you're just frozen and stuck there for like 2 seconds, or it felt like 10, but it was really like 2 seconds. Hopefully that's fixed. I'll be testing it, seeing if it happens again, and let you guys know. But I hope this means they fix the ability to vault into rooms. It doesn't say that, so we'll see. I don't know. I've never done, I don't even know how to do some of the exploit vault stuff because I don't want to know. But if they did patch it, make sure you let us know. If they didn't, I guess let us know so people know that they don't need to burn their keys up or not waste your keys because something's probably already been looted. But for now, hopefully this means they fixed the vaulting stuff. Fixed the possibility of taking damage from snipers while inside the BTR. So there's some places if you were in the BTR, like for example, collapsed crane, the BTR drives out of bounds and turns around and comes back. If you're in the car, you'd get shot. And this is a problem because you can't do anything. Now, the last time this happened, all it did was damage our armor. It didn't actually kill us. Jesse and I both got shot and our armor took damage and zeroed our ears on our helmets, but we didn't take any body damage. So hopefully it's both of those are fixed and you're not taking armor damage or body damage from the sniper, or preferably the sniper just doesn't shoot at you. Fix the logic where the BTR would start firing at nearby players. So there's a lot of stuff with the BTR still to figure out. There are instances where the BTR would just randomly shoot at you. No explanation. For me, it was once where I hopped in and there was only like 2 seconds left on the timer before it moved. So it kicked me out and then it aggroed me. I was able to get into cover and not die to it, thank God, but it still shot at me. So we're gonna have to see. It's still not 100% clear how this thing works to me. If this fixes all the bugs, then we'll know and we can actually, I want to do a video and explain the rules of the BTR so people know when they need to avoid it, when they can use it, and when you hear it, you don't just go run and hide in a closet like I do right now because you don't want to die to the damn thing. So we'll just have to see how well it got fixed, right? There were some bugs with the BTR where you could transfer players and stuff like that. This probably has to do with RMT or cheaters or just people fucking around. I don't know. They fixed that. Fixed error pop-up when trying to view a player's profile in certain cases. I never saw that. Great. There's some Lightkeeper fixes here that people probably don't really care a whole lot about because a lot of people don't get to Lightkeeper. But basically, he had some bugs with not getting his quest or being able to get his quest when you didn't have him unlocked or didn't have high enough rep. So that's all been addressed. Fixed several incorrect player animations when using stationary weapons. So there was a place on streets that you get on a mounted gun and you'd like hold the gun like this and you'd be ducked down so nobody could shoot you. And you could see perfectly. You were looking down the sight, but your character was like down. And it was funny, but it's kind of broken because you could shoot people and they couldn't shoot you back. So hopefully that's fixed and that is not a problem anymore. And then along with that, there was your hands getting frozen with stationary weapons. Looks like they addressed that. Fixed the error when loading a double barrel shotgun with ammo from a secure container. In general, in Tarkov, a rule of thumb, don't load shit from your secure container. Just don't do it. Put it in a pocket, put it in a bag before you do it, because this is a problem that creeps up every now and again with all sorts of things. So just try not to do stuff like that out of your secure container and you'll avoid some bugs. There's always issues with mags bugging out. This is a context menu thing. This is something a lot of veterans learn just not to do by habit. When you're reloading or you're packing mags or stuff, don't screw around with anything in your inventory because it can lead to a bug out. This looks like they might have fixed it, but I've seen them say they fixed the hand busy bug or locked magazine bug several times over several years, and there always seems to be a new one that shows up. So just keep that in mind. Fixed the narrowed display on thermal scopes. Fixed the incorrect position of the mag Magpul SLK butt stock with some buffer tubes. It was a visual bug. It wasn't anything big. Fix the incorrect display of face shields for other players in certain cases. This is just where a face shield would be up when it was down or down when it was up. Just an incongruency or a desync, if you will, between players and servers and other players and stuff. Fix the error after replacing an equipped helmet with the same helmet with a different flashlight installed. No idea. Cool. Fix the ability to quickly return from left to right lean using smooth lean after normal lean. This one, I don't know. I guess there was a way to quickly return from left to right lean if you smooth lean after using normal lean. This seems like meta gaming silly stuff. They fixed it, I guess. I don't know what it means. I don't think it was all that important. Fixed incorrect IA movement speed in certain cases. Okay, I never saw anything that looked out of place for me, but we'll see. Fix the incorrect cultist behavior after attacking with melee weapons. Fix the possibility of AI falling through the ground in certain cases. Okay, so we know there's some problems in certain places of the map. I know Blaze and others have shown where you shoot a body or you drop gear and it literally just disappears. Or you don't shoot a body, you shoot a player, it turns into a body and it just vanishes. We know that's the case. But I swear to God, I have been following scavs around or been watching them and they walk behind a car and they don't come out the other side of the car, and then I go look for them and they're just fucking gone. They vanish into thin air. I thought I was losing my mind or whatever. Maybe this is why. Kind of joking around, but AI falling through the ground in certain cases. This could explain why there aren't that many scavs on streets. I honestly don't know. We've all noticed that there's fewer scavs on streets. It's harder to find them, and BSG may have just turned them down for performance reasons. I understand that, but wouldn't it be funny that the reason there was no AI scavs on streets was because they fell through the fucking map and they were just gone, and we couldn't shoot them, they couldn't shoot us, and that was just why there was never any there. Anyways, that looks like they fixed that bug. We'll have to see. Fix the error after post-raid therapist screen for players that have elite charisma skill. If you got elite charisma skill, my God, man. Good on you for finding this bug, I guess, because that's crazy. Fixed incorrect logic of unlocking a new quest after failing the previous quest. This is just some weird stuff in the quest operation. Hopefully it's addressed. We'll see. Fixed incorrect objective area for capturing outpost quests. So what had happened? Capturing outpost was back down at the docks, and it felt weird that it was down there. So I guess it was a bug, and they moved it back to Health Resort. This box is pretty good. So if you kill stuff inside this box, it counts for capturing outposts. Not as big of a deal because you don't need the Zabralo anymore, which was the big reason people were doing it. I don't think it's Kappa required. It does unlock some stuff that's important, but it's more manageable now because down at the docks, it's impossible. So just keep that in mind, that was changed. Next one is kind of a big deal. They fixed the disappearance of secure container from the inventory when interacting with equipment presets in certain cases. I'd seen some posts about people's secure containers just being gone. I don't know if they ever got them back. I don't know if BSG is returning them. I don't know if it was just a desync and you restarted your game and it came back. But talk about a terrifying experience. Hopefully that's completely fixed. We'll see. Fixed the incorrect logic of inviting a player to the lab if they didn't have a key card. Fixed incorrect display of fog and optics after using thermal sights. This was a really niche bug. Few people had noticed. You could put a thermal on and then take it off, but then you didn't see fog in your scopes. Okay, interesting enough, but that's been addressed. Fix the display of IR flashlights and optical sights. It's not mentioned in here, but there is an issue with thermal sights and windows on some maps. I don't know if they fixed that or not, so let me know down in the comments if you do know. But like at Shoreline, for example, I think FLIRs can see through the glass, which they're not supposed to be able to. I don't know if they fixed that or not. Fix the display of insurance and found in raid icons. Fix the blinking of certain achievement icons when pressing the collect date filter. Fix the text overlay on white background on the languages screen. Fixed the arrow when inverting the mouse on the x-axis. I don't know who does that, you crazies. X-axis inversion. Why? What? Huh? Fix the infinite loading when trying to load into a finished raid after reconnect. Yeah, well, seems like there is a bug back. The awaiting session start bug for scavs is back, so keep that in mind. They broke it again, it seems. So we'll see. I've been seeing people saying they're getting forever problems with scavs again. Fix the ability to open a locked door without a key using the breach option. Adjust the damage from fire and barbed wire. Everybody said I was crazy. There was people that made fun of me. The shorts, all the people that made fun of me in that short, guess what? Yeah, it was a bug. Wasn't intended. So hopefully you don't insta-die from fire and barbed wire doesn't do like 10x damage that it does everywhere else, because I think it was hitting every hitbox. But yeah, that's been addressed hopefully. And fix the possibility of generating a player scav with no equipment. So a lot of people are noticing this. They would have a scav with no gear, and that's a good one to get fixed. All right, that's everything. Big list, a lot of fixes. We'll get into it and see what actually got fixed, what didn't. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. It helps me out. It lets YouTube know you guys want to see these videos. So I do appreciate that, especially if you made it this far. Also, you're probably used to hearing it by now if you're this far, but don't forget to check out my music. Link down in the description below. It's free to listen to. It supports me as a creator. I don't make it. A lot of people get hung up on that. Low A Record makes it, but I'm partnered with them, and we both benefit from the process. It's free to listen to. It's also for content creators. That's part of the reason we made it, was so that content creators didn't have to worry about DMCA or copyright strikes or anything like that. You can use it on your streams, you can use it in your YouTube videos, and we are not going to come after you. All we ask is that you attribute us so people know where to find it. That's all we ask. Other than that, it's free to use, so use it. Let me know what music you like. We've got a new album in the works too, which is good. I'm excited for that. But as always, appreciate you guys for sticking through this long. I ain't got nothing else. Wish you the best of luck in your raids, and we'll see you in Tarkov.